Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. Welcome to part 3 of the in-depth review for Boox Max Lumi, and in this part we're going to be focusing on reader experience. Alright, on to the reader side of things. So, well, I might need the pen a little bit later. I've covered the library, how it works, and let's just go into a book. And yeah, this one kind of works properly because it's very nicely formatted, so it can show a lot of things. So, the new reader, I've covered it in a lot of details in all of the videos before about Onyx Boox products, so if you want super detailed instructions, you can go there. I'm gonna try and go through quickly here for those who are new to the platform so that you know what's what and how to work with things. So the reader itself is by default divided into 3 columns. The left one is page back, the right one is page forward, and the middle one is the options menu. Once you're in the options menu, you can see the tabs of previous documents that you used. You can enable, disable scribbling, you can control the front light, same as the system light, control the dictionaries, search for a word search, and you have some added settings and options here. So for the app settings, you go to that upper menu, and then you can adjust a lot of other things, such as auto crop, margins for PDFs, but more importantly, the touch settings are these areas that I talked about. So this is the default setting, but you have these 6 presets that you can use. So for example, if you don't want to touch stuff here, then you can be just over here in mode 6, or you can add 3 custom ones yourself. So full freedom that you can customize this experience any way you want, and plus additional settings such as text-to-speech setting, reading, exporting, all that kind of stuff is there that you can choose. Also, on the bottom bar, we have the options, which is table of contents, progress, formatting, split view, and the scribble controls. However, before I go on to those, I want to talk a little bit about the navigation itself. So, as I said, you can tap to left and right, and that's one of the ways that you can flip the pages. You can also swipe left and swipe right, but you can also swipe up and swipe down. So every imaginable situation really works. Regardless of which platform you're coming from, the navigation feels completely at home and really intuitive. And I've used now Kindle, Kobo, Remarkable, Pocketbook. By far, still NeoReader is my absolute favorite reading experience because it's the most powerful, most versatile, and I can always get the job done in NeoReader easiest. What other things can we do with the gestures and navigation? Well, we can bookmark a page. If you tap here on the upper right corner, you can see that you can bookmark a page. We have this guy here, which is a floating toolbar, which we talked about before. And if you want more information about the toolbar, floating toolbar, I think it's covered also in the update 2.3.1 video and 2.3. So you can get more details there and know exactly how it works and what it does. Then we can also, if you tap on diagonal corners like this at the same time, maybe a bit closer, I guess, like this, there, then you get to have a screenshot of an image, and then you can save it and share it if you want, or just go back, and if you save it, it's saved as an image. And then finally you can we can do highlighting of the text. So a long press on a word will select a word, which will then automatically, if it's a single word, it will automatically use the dictionary that's been installed and activated offline. You don't have to be online. It's a local thing to use the dictionaries, and you can switch between different dictionaries if you have them installed. More on that a little later. So for example, I can switch between Longman and Oxford here, and I can also choose the English to Russian, in which case it actually translates from English to Russian because I have that dictionary in place. So you can do offline translations as well. However, translating itself is done by an online service that you can choose, either Baidu or Bing Translate. So both options are there, and that's what happens when you select a single word. However, if you can see the handles, if I expand the selection, then I'm creating a highlight. And once I've created a highlight, I can choose between a black highlight, which is effectively actively gonna darken things up, but I can switch so that it's a contrasting color, so I can see the words. I can have lighter color, darker words, so it's better readable if that's what you wanted to. I can have an underline, wavy line of a different color, or a dotted line, or dashed line, so to speak, or censoring. So those are the options that I can do with the highlights. So let's say that I add a highlight here, and then that's pretty much it. Then I want to add another one over here, but this one I would like to be of this format, and in this case I want to add a note to it as well, so I can add my annotation, and this is, wait, I was pressing C. This is my super enlightened there we go, enlightened annotation. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I can just update. And you can see that we have a tiny little dots here, which is an indication that this highlight is also an annotation because it has a note. Then I can also, this part here sucks, right? And then you can just kind of like draw it like this. And those are basically the things that you can do to interact with a document. So you can mark it up, you can highlight it, you can add annotations, you can bookmark it, you can make a screenshot, and by using the, let's see here, if I tap here and I go into Scribble, I will get my Scribble toolbar where I can choose different brushes and same shapes and everything exactly the same as in I've shown in the notebook taking experience. So for example, I can take a marker and then mark things like this as well if I wanted to. You have lasso tool, you have text boxes, you can add text boxes as well, etc, etc. Lots of things that you can do basically, and most importantly, yeah, you can choose different colors here. Let's do red. You can see that it's kind of written in a grayish color, and then I have green, and finally I'm gonna do blue. There is an option to actually kind of change how these are displayed. They can be displayed in true colors, but just a grayscale value of it as it is now, or they can be displayed in black on the device itself. Whenever you export, they will cover the color, of course, which they are. Now, once you're done with marking up your document, there's a lot of things more that you can do with it. And one of the most powerful features that I really love on the Neo Reader is the table of contents. And let's just make a bit of a bookmark here as well, and some more over here just to show some stuff. Okay, so let's say I go here and I go into the table of contents, and not only does the table of contents really work, you can expand it so that you can find things a little bit easier, or contract it. You can ascend, descend, etc, etc, and you can flip the pages here or jump to a page. You can also check out and see all of your bookmarks, and each of the bookmarks can be renamed, so you can organize your bookmarks the way you want to. You can delete them, of course. Then you have the annotations, so your highlights and annotations are going to be displayed here, and you have the option of selecting all of them or selecting just a few. You can edit them, of course. You can edit, delete if you want to, but more importantly, you can also export all of your annotations or just some selected annotations as a text file as well. And then finally, you can also show the pages where you've written or scribbled anything. So a super complete solution here that I think just works brilliantly. For document markup and management, I have yet to find a much more powerful and versatile platform. I've tried a lot, but this one still, for me, absolutely the best. Then we have progress, so you can just go between chapters, so you can flip from chapter to another chapter, you can scroll normally, you can get it to read to you, so we can just say, let's read.
Emmanuel, said the young girl with hesitation.
So let's...
It is your opinion that I should obey this invitation? Yes. Did not the messenger say your father's safety depended upon it? But what danger threatens him? Then, Emmanuel, she asked. Emmanuel hesitated a moment. But his desire to make Julie decide immediately made him reply. Listen. He said today is the 5th of September. Is it not? Yes. Today. Then. At 11 o'clock. Your father has nearly 300,000 francs to pay. Yes, we know that. Well, then, continued Emmanuel. We have not 15,000 francs in the house. What will happen then? Why? If...
Okay, this is too much fun. But yeah, definitely works. So
today before 11 o'clock your father has not found someone who will come to his aid.
Shut up.
He will be compelled at 12 o'clock.
Stop it, stop it. Stop it, stop being silly. Yep, it works. It can read to you if you want it to, and you can change text-to-speech settings, etc, etc. Then you have in progress, you can also have page navigation, and you can switch between 4, 9 or 16 pages overview, and you can flip around and find the page that you're looking for, etc, if that's something that you like. And of course you can flip back to the previous page that you were at, so not the last page, but you can just flip between, let's say, page 220, 211 and 318 for whatever reason, if you're flipping between those. And I think that's a super useful thing. Then we have formatting, which is slightly different between the PDFs and EPUBs. So first, this is an EPUB, and if I go into formatting, you can see that we have 3 tabs. First one is typeface, which is the font, and you can see that it's very snappy and super responsive. So we can go from super tiny all the way up to really big. Then you can embolden text, so we can make it bolder or not. You can change the typeface, as in the font, and the encoding options, which is important for different types and special character type of fonts if you're using. And also you can change the indentation, disable indentation, add indentation, disable hyphenation, or disable or enable it. And then we also have a format option, which is pagination. So I can flip to this option, which is automatically gonna go into landscape mode, and then I have like a 2-page type of layout. I can change the orientation, the rotation, same as the system orientation. I have separate control for image contrast, separate control for text contrast, and then finally I have spacing style, where I have separate control for line spacing and separate control for paragraph spacing. So for me, this is one of the most important features when I read a lot, to have separate control for paragraph spacing, and it's surprising how few of globally accepted platforms actually offer that option. For me, that would be like a complete must. And then of course you have top, bottom margin and left, right margin. So you can format the document any way you want, and it's gonna be super awesome. So I really love the formatting options of the Neo Reader. Formatting in PDFs is a little bit different because you can reflow, and I'm not going to go into details because nothing has gone differently, nothing has been changed, so you can just go through Max 3 or Nova 2 review and see all of these things. But suffice to say, it's fantastic. It's the best PDF formatting options that I've seen in a reader at all, and it's basically, it gives you the ability to read anything however you want it and do whatever you want with it. So super duper awesome. Finally, you have split view, which works for both PDFs and EPUBs, and the split view has 4 different modes. You can have the current document in split view, and that's basically like 2 different instances of the reader. So it's not just 2 pages, but you can just go and read different sections of the same document independently, and it works perfectly independently here and there. So a very, very useful feature if you're using referencing something at the other end of the document and reading something here. So very cool feature there. Back button is to get out of the split view. Then we have current document and another document, and then you can just choose which other document you want to have side by side. Then we have a super useful feature, which is document and notes. And basically what this does is it creates a dedicated notebook that's associated with this document, and you can see that we have layers, we have everything that you normally have and everything that I showed before. So you can have your grid lines, you can have the same pencils, same tools, everything exactly the same, except that this notebook is associated with the document or the book, depending on what it is that you're doing. And basically that's the difference that I showed in the notebooks, notebook management. These notebooks are classified differently, so you can search them, only these guys, if you want. And of course, these notebooks can be saved, they can be exported as PDFs, PNGs, everything exactly the same control over the notebook as you would have on a normal one. The only difference is that it's associated to the document that you've created it for. And then finally, we also have the document and translate, and this only works if you are online. So this is an online service, and you can choose again between Bing and Baidu Translate, and you can choose between these languages shown here. So you can pause and check which language you have, and if you are interested in this language or not. And let's say that I go for Deutsch. And the way it works is that it translates the visible page, and you can flip through the content of this page, but this is basically just the page that's shown here. So you cannot navigate the document through the translated version. The translated version is just this here. So of course it's going to be a bit longer or shorter depending on the languages. It's really fast and really snappy, as you can see, even in a longer one like this. Super, super fast, and I think that it works absolutely awesome. So the great thing is that I can just go here, for example, and then just, let's say, navigate all the way down to here, and this guy is super snappy, and it just interactively changes as you are changing the document here. So very, very useful features again that I think complete the reading experience on the Max Lumi to be really, really good. One of the new things that has been added in version 3 is PPT or PPTX support. So that means that you can open PDFs, or sorry, that you can open PowerPoint presentation files directly in the in the Max Lumi. Now I've tested this, and let's just rotate the display like this, and basically it works. Definitely it does work. The formatting problems here are simply because that's the conversion from Google Slides to PPTX. So this is not something that the device is doing. So I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with how the resolution has been done. Now the PPT that I exported definitely isn't this low in resolution, and basically when I check the same document that's been exported as a PDF, then it's definitely handled better. So this is the same one now, but as a PDF, and you can clearly see that the differences are huge. So it's a lot better. So let's go here to see the same image, and you can see that it's a lot better. However, PPT and PPTX files do open now on Max Lumi, which is great. And finally, I'm just going to go through a couple of document types that were mentioned by the users in the comments of what type of documents they are interested in seeing how they work. So this is first like the type of a regular type of a document for scientific papers. So you have these double formats, and it just kind of works perfectly normally. And this is how it looks with the front light on, and this is how it looks with the front light off. So you have the same, so we have the same type of visibility and sharpness, definitely working normally. And of course, because it's PDF, you have all the formatting options. So it's also able to reflow, for example. So if I go into reflow, and you have a double column document like this, so you can choose double columns and font size, let's say 1, and spacing to be kind of dense, alignment style, justified, and I can just go OK. So the reflow should be able to get rid of the double columns and then just display text in a single column. OK. the font size is a little bit too big, but you can see that the formulas and everything is translated normally, and the double column document has been now reflowed into a normal one that you can actually work with. Additionally, documents that contain graphs and figures, all of the symbols, everything is displayed normally, and it works as one would expect. The thing that I do like to use is basically in the formatting, I like to crop so that it fits, and then add a little bit of a margin to the sides, and then I have this fitting the A4 format pretty much perfectly. And this is a smaller document, so navigation is of course easy and easy peasy, but I haven't really noticed any difference in performance in larger documents. So let's see, ethics, origin and development. I think that's a bigger document. 196 pages. You see how quickly it loaded up, and it goes as you would expect. So let's just, for example, crop this so it fits a little bit of there. So okay, now we have full page, and I can just read as normally I would. Very, very snappy. So I can just tap on several times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It works. I can swipe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very, 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 very responsive, and it just works as I would expect it to. Internal links on Neo Reader, they work. Oh, that was a margin, not progress. Internal links work as in, for example, I can click on if the document has it, then it will, the hyperlink within the document works, but it does not link outside of the documents. That's not supported by the Neo Reader. So within the document, hyperlinking definitely works, and if the table of contents is included, it will be there. However, if the document does not have it, then it won't be there. So the first time that you've seen actually this kind of symbol, this is when it doesn't have anything, but you have to be sure that you are in the table of contents actually, because it remembers what was the last setting. So if it's scribbles and it doesn't have scribbles or annotations or bookmarks, you can often mistake that, hey, I just opened up a document and it doesn't have bookmarks, but my document has bookmarks. Well, it could be the case that you are not in the actual table of contents. Sorry, not bookmarks, but table of contents. Could be the case that you were not in table of contents. So that's something that's worth checking out. The navigation is super, super snappy, as you can see. So I don't see any problems here. Normally navigating through the whole thing and just being able to do whatever I want with the document. So that's a larger document. So this is a slightly different type of a format where we have very thin looking fonts. So that's something that I wanted to kind of check so that you can see how the bolden thing actually works. So if I go into contrast, then I can embolden the text in this case. And now, okay, this is too much. So I can embolden it a little bit, and then I can increase the contrast of the text, and I can adjust non-optimal types of PDFs to become really, really readable. And then I can just say, okay, so maybe this format is kind of sucky because there's like a lot of empty room, but there's this one here. So in this case, I can always decide to use the navigation option. So I can just go to more settings, and I can choose to have this type of division so that it divides into block 1 and block 2. And then I can just go OK. And if I rotate into landscape mode, now suddenly this has turned into a way more usable type of a document, and I can just read it very, very easily. So even non-optimal type of documents, definitely you can find an option that will work for any specific situation. And finally, even if you have documents that have a lot of images, okay, so he retained the contrast that I was setting here. So I'm just gonna lower the contrast of the images and not embolden the text. All right, so this works for me. Let's see. Okay, so this actually works fine, but maybe let's say that I want to change the setting of the image contrast. Maybe I want sharper contrast. Maybe I want sharpened images, kind of to see a little bit more details, but the control is a little bit too strong for my taste. And yeah, so something like this. And I think it's fantastic to have this separate control between image contrast and text contrast, because it just gives you so much more ability to just use the device properly. And for me, it definitely works good. If you guys are noticing that my left hand gestures are not getting noticed and the right hand gestures do, that's because I play bass and guitar, and there's like, this is just layers of dead skin here, and that one is not really good for capacitive touch. So I would need to kind of, if I swipe with the bottom where I don't have the dead skin, then it works. But if I swipe with the top, then it's much, there we go, then it's much less likely to actually detect living tissue. However, this one, if I'm just working it with the tips, not the tips, but the soft parts of my fingers, then the detection is far, far better. Just wanted to clarify that if somebody noticed that the difference between the right and the left hand. So the navigation for me, handling of documents is pretty much spectacular. that's all I can say, because everybody knows by now who's watched my videos that I'm a very big fan of the Neo Reader, how it works, and all the improvements and the format of 13.3 inch on the Max Lumi, the illumination that we have, and everything else. It just makes it pretty much a perfect platform as a reader. Right, so here is the document document that I've exported from Max Lumi, and everything looks good. And when I get to the page that was marked up, you can see that it's clearly red is red, green is green, blue is blue, and black normally works. Furthermore, everything is retained pretty much precisely where it is, and these guys are selectable strokes, so you can, if you want to, you could select them and edit them and move them around if you so choose. So far everything tracks great. Yep, this one also works. Let's check out the highlighting. Should be down here. Yep, so we have the highlight, and this was just a highlight without the commenting, and now we should have some, yep, and there we go, highlighting with the annotations, or the commenting is there. And it also actually says the device that Max Lumi has commented this, which is kind of sweet. I think it tracks excellently. Let's see this. Yep, find more information on the said feature, blah, 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 blah. So this transfers really, really well. The only thing that I couldn't find is the existence of bookmarks. But then again, I can't really find that any time I do a bookmark on any of the platforms or any of the devices. But yep, so far everything except the bookmarks works. So that's excellent. Now let's highlight a little bit here. Let's go to page, this one for example. So I'm just gonna do a highlight over here, and I am going to add a comment. This is my comment made from the PC. So I'm just gonna post that, and I'm gonna make another just a highlight here, which doesn't have any type of comment or anything like that. So now I'm gonna save this PDF out and import it back into Lumi and see what we get. All right, here is the document back from PC back to Lumi, and if I double check the table of contents, I can see that some have been duplicated. So that's kind of strange that some of them have been duplicated. And do we have our bookmarks? Yes, the bookmarks are still there, and the scribbles are retained as well. I couldn't see the new ones listed. The new ones are definitely marked up, but they do not show up as listable highlights or annotations. So definitely some issues are present as far as the compatibility and how the file goes from Lumi to PC and then from PC to back. So this is just basically a screenshot. So the highlights that I've made in Adobe Reader on the PC, they do physically show up here, but they are just like highlights. The comments are not there, and furthermore, these are not highlights, because you'll see when I create a highlight like this, then I'm able to simply tap on it. Whoops. I'm able to tap on it and get choice of operations, which is definitely not the case here. So these are definitely not translating as highlights. So in summary, I think that the best way that this works is from Max Lumi back to someone else so that they can review the work and take it further. But obviously, if there's a PDF that has been already marked up, when it comes into Lumi, that way of translation is not that great. So exporting a marked up PDF works great. Importing a marked up PDF, not so much. This concludes the reading experience part. Join me in the next part of the in-depth review.